a bill Republican Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty tried to block. He joins me right now. Senator, it's great to have you this weekend. Thanks very much for being here. And you really went through the substance of these bills, and that's what brought pause for you. Can you talk to us about the substance of the infrastructure bill and the larger, what some are calling a $5 trillion package, even though I know it's advertised as $3.5 trillion?
Certainly, Maria. And let's just talk about what was advertised at the outset, because we'd waited for weeks, if not months, to see the infrastructure bill. And my colleagues have been talking about hard infrastructure. Look, infrastructure is in my DNA. I went to college, I worked my way through school shoveling asphalt. My father, my grandfather were in the road construction business. I think Tennessee taxpayers and American taxpayers can appreciate hard infrastructure investment that delivers a real return. But what we finally received was a 2,700-page bill that was full of a lot of things that weren't hard infrastructure. Frankly, they were a down payment on the Green New Deal. And by the time we got the scoring, the Congressional Budget Office revealed that rather than being paid for, as it was advertised, it was over $250 billion in the hole. What was Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's response to that? Well, let's accelerate it. Let's go ahead and pass it tonight. I think the aim was to get a patina of bipartisanship and some momentum in place so they could move right to the $3.5 trillion deal. That's when I said no. That's when I put a halt to that process, trying to accelerate it. And we shone daylight on it. And I think a lot of my colleagues had an opportunity to see what was really in it. Several of them moved their votes. In the end, we had 30 of us that were opposed to it. And I think what we've got right now is an opportunity to put a lot more pressure on those Democrats in the House of Representatives who are in swing districts, who are going to be faced with looking at this bill along with the $3.5 trillion whopper coming from Bernie Sanders. And I think they're going to have a lot of pressure on passing it.
Well, what is the motive here? I mean, look, Kim Strassel from the Wall Street Journal wrote a great op-ed this weekend, Chuck Schumer and his shadow, and it's all about how he is mimicking everything that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is telling him to do because he's going to get a challenger. AOC is going to try to either unseat him or get a challenger to unseat him. Is that what this is all about, so Chuck Schumer could stay in the job?
Well, I think her analysis certainly is ringing true with me. The far left has taken over the Democrat Party, and the pressure that Chuck Schumer must be under is, I presume, enormous, because he's allowed Bernie Sanders to author this bill. This $3.5 trillion, which is, as you and I've talked about before, Maria, probably will wind up being north of $5 trillion when it's over. What he's done is really moved this entire Democrat contingent so far left to the point that it looks like AOC is calling the shots right now.
So before I move on to the border, real quick, what kind of taxes should we expect from this $5 trillion bill that's coming in the fall now that the Senate has paved the way for it? Who's getting their taxes increased?
First, I'll say that everybody is, because what's happening is they're accelerating inflation at an enormous pace. We're seeing, inflation on the run here in America right now. That's the most pernicious tax, Maria, because it affects everybody. Our retirees the most. Everyone's dollars are worth less. And what this $3.5 trillion additional money is going to do, along with the $1.2 trillion of infrastructure spend, is just put more and more money into the economy, more and more inflationary pressure. That's going to be the broadest base tax. But to come back to your question, this is going to cause corporate taxes to go up. Again, they'll make America the least competitive nation in the world. Death taxes are going to go up. It'll be very painful for small companies and farmers to pass along their business to the next generation. They're going to make us less competitive at every front. They're going to kill the fossil fuel industry, as you know. They want to see that go away. They're going to make every company in America less competitive because their energy costs are going to go up. And China is going to be laughing all the way to the bank, and we will be shoving, yet again, more American jobs offshore in the process.
This is just incredibly troubling, as troubling as the border is continuing to show us every day, every month. We've got new numbers this weekend showing that it was more than 212,000 migrants who were encountered at the border in the month of July. That's up 13% from June, the highest level in 21 years. DHS Secretary Mayorkas visited the border on Thursday, as some Republican lawmakers are calling for his impeachment right now because they fail to acknowledge this crisis that is only getting worse. Senator, we're talking about 1.1 million encounters year to date.
This is incredible. This is the gravest national security crisis that we face as a nation. They've come in and absolutely collapsed the border. Maria, it's now easier to get across our southern border than it is to get a table for dinner in New York City. This is preposterous. And the level of COVID transmission that's coming across the border, too. In the midst of a pandemic, they're doing this. They have absolutely destroyed our national security at the southern border, created a crisis. They're fueling the cartels and the coyotes, too. They're just providing more and more messaging for them to send more and more vulnerable people across the border, whether they're COVID positive or not. They're sending them across the border, and they're also sending more fentanyl into my state and into states all across this nation and killing our kids. It's just a tragic situation. And to think that Mayorkas still has his job performing like this, in corporate America, this would never stand.
Yeah, it would not. And you're right, 90,000 plus overdoses, largely due to fentanyl in America. As that drug gets in through the border. Senator, it's good to see you. Thanks very much.
Likewise,
we will
Maria.
keep watching this and certainly putting a spotlight on it. We'll see you soon. Senator Bill Hagerty joining us this morning on